Folks, this is Max here. Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how I built a no-code application that sends an email and a text message when a new user registers. So this is part of my journey where I take an application built with code and then try to rebuild it using no-code tools. Now, I published this blog post a few weeks ago where I describe how I build the application, and I also listed the tools that I used. So I used, for database, I use Airtable. To build the application logic, I use Parabola, and then Twilio to send a text message. But again, the idea is of the application is pretty straightforward. It's basically, it's a form with 3 fields: name, email, and phone number. And then when the user registers, someone will be notified that a new user just registered. Okay. So let's go over each tool and see how the application was built. So first is Airtable, right? So let's go to Airtable. So this is Airtable, and I already have one user from before. But I like Airtable. It's very easy to use. And what I really like about it is that it allows you to create a form, a public form, to collect data that's connected to this grid view. Now, this view is very similar to Excel or Google Sheets, but you can almost instantly create a form to collect data for this table. And you can see there is a form view, but I already have one, so let's actually check it out. So here you can design the form if you want, but let's open it. And right away you can see there's a form with inputs with the fields corresponding to table columns. So let's enter a new name here. Email, and then a phone number. Actually, let me go here and copy the phone number. And then we click submit. All right, we just submitted, and if we go back here or to the grid, we can see that a new user was just registered. So again, this should literally take you 5 minutes to create this grid and then form. Now, I also, Google Sheets has a similar capability together with Google Forms. I just like Airtable just a little bit more. It seems a little bit, again, sort of simpler and just more elegant. But that's just, of course, that's just my opinion. Okay, so that's our backend, or I should say our database. Let's go to Parabola. So Parabola is what I use to build the application logic, right? Now, so Parabola, you build the application using these visual steps, and every step does something very specific. And then you basically, input from one step is then passed to the next one, and so on. Another way to look at it, maybe a little bit sort of closer to code, is every step is like a serverless function that does something very, very specific. All right. But again, you'll see that I didn't write a single line of code. So, but hopefully the example of serverless will help you kind of understand how Parabola works. All right, so the first step is to import the data. And now Parabola has a built-in Airtable import. You connect to your table account and then specify the table, and then it will just import the data. So let's open it. Now there is one record, and this is before I inserted a new user. I can click here to update, right? And then we can see that we have a new user here. All right, so now we got our data. Now, the next step is date comparison. Now, why am I doing this? So, the way this is going to work is that when the new user registers, I'm not going to send an email and a text message right away. Now, that's possible, but that's for another version of this application. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this flow every hour. So I want to choose only the new records that were inserted within the hour, right? And again, I'm going to run my flow, parabola flow, once every hour. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm adding a new column, right? And I'm basically saying, tell me how many minutes passed between now and created time, when the record was created, right? And I'm adding a new column, which is here. So basically, this is how many minutes passed between now and when the new record was created. Right. Now, the next step is I only want to choose records created within the last 60 minutes. And so I'm doing a row filter step, and I'm saying here, so I only want to work with rows where minutes since are less than 60, right? So that will give me the newest records. And then we can see here, this is what we get, because the number here is less than 60. So it's about 2 minutes, and that's less than 60. So this is how Parabola works, and this is one way where you can select only the new records versus working with the entire table, right? And you could end up with a lot of users, but you only want to select the new ones. The next step is we're creating, again, a new column, and we are creating the message that we are going to send. So this is the message text that we're going to send via email and then also text, right? So now before I show you the Twilio and the send email step, just again a quick note on Parabola. So Parabola works with table-like data, right? So you can import Airtable like I'm doing here. You can also import Google Sheets, but in general, you can also import an external API. But in general, Parabola works with table-like data. And then you take the table data from one step to another, right? And then you can manipulate the data in many different ways. All right, now let's open the Twilio step. And now you have to connect to your Twilio account, and that's what I'm doing here. Now what I'm doing here is instead of notifying someone else, I'm actually notifying the same person that registered, right? And this is just because it's a sample application. You can, of course, notify someone else. And for the message, I'm saying use the message column. Okay? Now, if I had multiple rows here, then of course it would send multiple messages. Now, the send emails is also pretty straightforward. We are sending the email also to the user itself. We have a subject, and then we have the body of the email. All right? And that's pretty much it. We can click publish. And now, so right here, you can schedule, as I mentioned earlier, you can run this every hour, like it's set up here. You can run it as often as every 10 minutes. Right? So you can set a rule here and say run every 10 minutes if that's what's needed. Now, if you want the flow to be invoked immediately because of some action somewhere else, then you can configure a webhook. So that's an option as well. But as I said, I'm going to try and use webhooks in another version of this application. But what we can do is we can run the flow, we can test the flow, and we can run it right now. So let's do that. Let's click run. And then it's just showing us the outputs. Let's click run now. And it usually takes a few seconds, depending, of course, on the complexity of the flow. All right. And looks like it succeeded. So let's go here. And we can see I just received an email, and we can see it's Mary and the email. And if I go here, let's see. All right, but for some reason, the text didn't go through. So let's see what is happening here. Let's open this. Let me just double check that I have the right email. I'm sorry, phone number. Yeah, it looks the same. Well, let's refresh again. Oh, here we go. I guess there was just a delay, which obviously possible with SMS. So we can see that this is the new text that we just received. So everything worked. There was just a small delay. All right. Well, that's all I wanted to show you. Again, the goal was to take an application built with code, and there is a link to this application in this blog post, and I'll add the link in the video, and rebuild the application using no-code tools. And as you saw, I used Airtable for database, Parabola for the application flow and logic, and then Twilio to send the message. For the email, I used the built-in step from Parabola. You can also use SendGrid, for example, if you want to use a third-party service to send emails. But again, what I find pretty incredible is that it's possible to build an application like this, and you saw that I didn't need to write a single line of code to do that. So thank you for watching, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.